Hey friends, and welcome back to more Reddit stories about entitled people, insane people, and all that kind of stuff. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet for more Reddit content, and we're getting right into today's stories. Sorry sir, you can't enter your building. A few years ago I worked armed security at a hospital. The Greater Health System owned 3 large hospitals, each with a 24-hour trauma center. It had a couple smaller county hospitals and dozens of clinics scattered across 3 states. I worked at one of the bigger hospitals in a bad part of town. There were legitimate security threats on a daily basis here. One day I was told to stand at the main entrance and keep staff out. Huh? I said. Apparently some middle management person wrote a new policy that staff members are to enter and exit the building through the west entrance only. The main entrance was to be used by patients and guests, and they didn't want employees cluttering the main entrance, because God forbid people see medical staff upon entering a hospital. My task was to stand at the door and tell nurses, doctors, cafeteria staff, facilities, janitors, etc. to use the west entrance. Anyone who refused had their name written down and would be reprimanded. Now I had other crap to worry about, like EDPs fighting people in the ER, or people running onto the helipad and taking a selfie with the lifeline patient, or dudes on PCP yelling at the wheelchairs, or the old woman with dementia who wandered off and can't find her room. You know, actual security problems. The main entrance posting was a waste of my time and it dragged on for several days, until one day. A man wearing a suit leading a gaggle of important people all in business attire. The ringleader had an employee ID badge and was speaking enthusiastically to the group. They were heading straight for the main entrance. Sorry folks, gotta use the west entrance. What? Said the ringleader. Hospital policy, all employees must use the west entrance, I said. We're going to use this entrance, he says as he points to the door. Okay, but I'll need to take your names down. Your supervisor will be informed. The ringleader stares at me like the biggest idiot alive and holds his ID badge in front of my face. I took his name down and every single member of his gaggle with painful slowness. I should add they were all very polite despite my obvious lack of f***s to give. Shortly after, the security supervisor arrives. How's it going? He said. Not bad. I have a dozen or so names, and I show him the list. Is that? He points to the ringleader's name. And I say, I don't know, his badge said Chief Something Officer. He looked important. Chief Executive Officer? Yeah, I think that was it. The supervisor quickly walks away. It turns out the CEO of the health system was bringing a group of potential investors, the aforementioned gaggle, for a tour of the place. He was never informed of the main entrance policy change, and was greatly embarrassed to be stopped at the main entrance of his own hospital by some rent-a-cop. Suddenly, as if by magic, staff could use the main entrance again, and I could return to actual security work. Asking my neighbor to get off my property when we weren't home over a security camera. My boyfriend is 31 and I'm 30, female. My boyfriend and I's house is on a corner lot with a large disconnected garage in the back with a driveway. We have a road and sidewalk to the front and left side of us, a neighbor with a fence to the right, and an alleyway in the back. While my boyfriend and I were at work the other day, we each separately got a notification from our security system that someone was in our driveway. When I pulled the live feed up, I saw what I thought might be a neighbor who lives down the road. I've never actually talked to him or seen him up close, so I wasn't 100%. And his large unleashed dog. My first assumption was that the dog had gotten out and he was trying to get it back. However, I watched him just mosey around the side of the house with his hands in his pockets. He was letting the dog sniff along the side of the house and then followed it all the way up our driveway to the garage. We have a fenced area between the garage and the house, and the guy watched the dog wander through the ajar fence and into the backyard while standing by our garage. He stood there for a good couple of minutes just looking into our garage and then into our covered porch. I finally said hello over the speaker on the security system, and he didn't reply. Then I asked, "Is that your dog?" Thinking maybe he was trying to help a loose dog and didn't want to spook it. He answered yes to that. He then just kept hanging around while his dog was doing whatever in our backyard. My boyfriend then got on the speaker and said, "Can you please get off my property?" The neighbor then went into our backyard and grabbed the dog by the collar to walk it home. That evening, I got a Facebook message from a random lady who I guess is the man's wife. She basically chewed both of us out for, quote, treating her husband like a criminal. thinking we're better than them because we have more money, treating them like trash, and embarrassing him in front of the neighborhood. My boyfriend and I were really taken aback by this. We've never even had any sort of direct contact with these people. I'll admit, we've both been a little on edge due to some car break-ins in our neighborhood within the last couple of weeks, and my boyfriend being bitten by a dog while on a walk. We've actually been looking to move because of this. Maybe we jumped the gun on judging this guy. However, I feel like it's a normal reaction to ask someone to leave when they're just loitering around your house. Also, who just lets their dog wander around someone's house and go into their fenced backyard? Yeah, it's not even a case of treating someone like a criminal or judging someone. The dude was obviously just loitering around your property, even if he was just taking his dog out on a walk. Well, not so much of a walk since it wasn't even on a leash, but more so letting your dog wander around and following it. But I digress, it was on someone else's property, so of course they can just ask you to leave. And I imagine he probably only confidently hung around like this because he was assuming no one was home, and there were probably no cars in the driveway. So that just sounds like a clear lack of boundaries and an invasion of space. With people like this, it probably is a good thing to tell them right away to stop so they don't get too comfortable with this kind of behavior. And I get neighborly friendliness and trusting each other and all that, but that only applies when you're actually acquainted with the person, and it sounds like they were total strangers, so they really have no reason to trust them. Husband almost killed me during a prank. So I, female 29, had to have a broken tooth pulled and hardware put in for a fake tooth to be put in later on. It was one of my bottom back molars, so can't be seen, and a pretty big tooth. I figured it'd be an easy in and out procedure, but because of extra damage to the area and my horrible fear of dentists, I elected to be fully sedated for the procedure. When all was said and done, I was loopy from the sedation, but my husband, 29, drove me home and all was well. I vaguely remember he tucked me into bed and told me to rest and feel better. I suddenly woke up to a harsh feeling in my throat and not being able to breathe. I was super out of it from the drugs and my brain just couldn't think of what to do. I dropped out of bed and crawled frantically, but it's like my brain couldn't work to figure out I was choking and needed to give myself the Heimlich. By the time I thought about it, I was already running out of air, and it was like I couldn't get out of the hallway in time to find something to save myself with. It's hard to get into it because it was horrifying and painful and so fast, and I was out of it, but I ended up passing out in the hallway trying to find something to save myself with. I really thought this is it. My baby is 2 rooms over, my husband is home, he's going to find me dead. But I woke up who knows how long after to my husband crying and holding me. He'd apparently given me the Heimlich and saved my life. At first you're just grateful, you know? But as my brain started to reboot, I thought, wait, wasn't I in bed? Wait, how did he know I was suffocating? Wait, what was I suffocating on? Wait. Well, it was a tooth. Not a real tooth. Some cheesy fake tooth you'd find at the dollar store in a kid's toy. How did it get in my throat? Well, that took longer to understand, but I figured out pretty quickly from my husband's blubbering that it was supposed to be funny. My husband's a prankster and wants to be an influencer even though he doesn't really have the following. He thought it'd be funny to pop a fake tooth in my mouth and have me wake up still loopy from the drugs and think that a tooth had fallen out from the hole in my gum. He was recording me from the baby monitor, hoping to get something funny that would go viral. I have no idea what to do here. I'm so mad. I could have died. If he wouldn't have been watching the camera, footage that I've watched over and over again, I'd be dead. I was so drugged up I couldn't think my way out of it, and he just put something in my mouth for me to swallow and die from. I've watched the footage 1,000,000 times, and every time it makes me more sick to my stomach. I have no idea how long I was in the hall before he found me, but it was a few minutes before you can hear the gasping and crying really faintly in the footage. Could it have happened at 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes? He keeps crying and apologizing, but every time it makes me want to hit him. I don't know what to think. I'm just filled with rage and disgust. I could have died over a prank, and I don't know how to process it. All he's done for the past day is cry and apologize. I know he didn't mean to hurt me, but I can't even look at him. I know it's only been a day, but when will I be able to think my way out of this? He's always been a prankster, but he's never done anything this bad. He can be thoughtless, but normally isn't careless. Man, it's honestly terrifying to imagine that someone would actually do something like this, especially to someone that's still out of it recovering from anesthesia. He was supposed to be taking care of her in this state, but he does this instead. I feel like most people, before considering something like this, would probably think, this is probably a serious choking hazard, even for someone that's awake and not sedated. But also consider that OP wasn't just sedated, but was also asleep when he put the tooth in her mouth. Honestly, how can someone not realize that's just a terrible and straight up dangerous idea? He does seem to realize how stupid this was in retrospect though, and seems to be pretty torn up about it. I mean, I would be concerned if he wasn't. But if OP decided to leave him over this, I would not blame her at all, not one bit. If this were someone that OP was just dating, then it'd almost be a no-brainer, like, yeah, get the hell out of there. But they are married and have a kid together, so that makes it a bit more complicated. Even as dumb and reckless as OP's husband sounds, I still would want to believe that after something like this, I really doubt he would ever do something like this again, and will probably seriously consider his actions from that day forward when it comes to pulling dumb pranks like this. Taking my brother-in-law to small claims court over a prank. A few months ago, we were at a family barbecue. I had a few too many beers and fell asleep in a hammock with my shirt off. My brother-in-law, who was completely sober, thought it would be hilarious to fill my belly button with super glue. At some point, I must have touched it, because when I woke up, I had glue partially dried in my belly button and on my finger. We tried to remove it, but it was stuck. The glue had adhered to my skin, and when we attempted to peel it off, it caused some tearing around the edges. Unfortunately, my job's insurance has a $1,000 ER copay, but I had no choice. I had to go to the ER. They used a solvent and an ointment to remove the glue, and after everything, I was left with a medical bill of $2,253. I asked my brother-in-law to cover the costs since he caused the situation. He refused. After trying to resolve it privately, I took him to small claims court, and I won. However, he still hasn't paid. This has caused a major rift in my family. My wife is upset, and her family thinks I overreacted. The reason my wife was upset is because her brother was going through a divorce and between jobs. Everyone knew he did it. He even admitted it. He blames his ADHD. I don't want to garnish his pay. The reason I didn't try more to clean the glue off me was because I have scars in my navel from gallbladder surgery about 3 years ago. My mother-in-law has offered to pay the bill, but she is on a fixed income and I would feel like an ass for taking her money. Of course, I'm the villain and only my sister-in-law is on speaking terms with me. My wife is only barely on my side. It was her that took me to the ER, not thinking it would cost that much. I figure blood is thicker than water. A prank shouldn't involve an expensive ER visit. It's not really a prank at that point. So I kinda do think it's fair that OP went after his brother-in-law for the money. Now, could OP have done some research on safe ways to remove superglue from your skin? Sure, yeah, but maybe you're also sorta getting into the territory of things being a bit risky trying to do it yourself, especially when it's inside your belly button. And maybe it's possible that the superglue would have just come off on its own safely and eventually. Or there could have been some kind of danger involved, like risk of infection if it was left on there. I don't really know, and OP didn't know either, which is why he played it safe. So going to the ER might have been the expensive option, but it was also the safe option. So yeah, I say make brother-in-law pay up. But really, come on, who the hell does that anyway? Anyway friends, that's gonna do it for today. Thank you so much for watching, I appreciate it. If you enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button, and also if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more Reddit shenanigans like this. So I'm out of here, take care, and I'll see you next time.